Ask the Mayor. Your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask the Mayor. I'm your Mayor Bob Hedlund. Thanks for joining us. And we've got a lot of questions, so I know we're going to get right into it. We don't want to get into too much jib-jab as we were critiqued in a previous show.
We're trying to eliminate the
jib-jab. At you. Specifically, the complaint was directed at
from
you.
way back.
And I know you got some good stuff. So,
well, thanks again to everybody for tuning in. It is the summertime again, and we hope everybody's enjoying their warm weather months. Certainly, a news item that got a lot of attention over the course of the last week was some sort of imbroglio down at the yacht club regarding the sailing. Is it at the yacht club, as a matter of fact, with the sailing, the Weymouth in Braintree? It's a joint sailing program, apparently, that we run. But it sounds like there was a case for Elliot Ness and the G-Men stormed the speakeasy. And what happened from there, Mayor?
Elliot Ness. So I know we teased this a little at the end of the last show.
We did.
Because we were running out of time.
Yeah.
And I know it warranted more than a minute's worth of discussion. So the short version is this, and ironically, about a week or two prior, 2 weeks I'd say, prior to the, actually a week and a half, prior to the issue popping up in the news, I actually happened to be down there and actually happened to be observing the program and witnessed, kids having a blast.
You were quoted in the paper as saying such.
Right, exactly. So, I don't know what day of the week it was, but all of a sudden I get a couple calls, and unbeknownst to me, our health inspector had responded to a complaint and went down there, discovered that the program, which has been in place about 65 years, I think WTC's own Mary Heinrichs actually had been involved in that program. We were an instructor.
She's wearing her boat shoes as we speak.
The scope of my understanding is the scope of the project has kind of evolved in recent years, where it's broadened and it's turned into a much bigger operation, and they've taken some involvement with Braintree and Weymouth rec departments.
I think that sounds fantastic, that co-op with another town, using resources where they're available. That sounds awesome.
And I know they're using boats from the two towns or something. But the bottom line is what happened was, so a complaint was logged, the department was doing what they do and responded.
But what was the complaint?
You know what, it's a couple different things, but
okay.
It's irrelevant. If they get a complaint, they're going to investigate.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? So upon the investigation, they discovered a lack of proper licenses. And my frustration with this is threefold. Number one, obviously I don't know every action at a given moment that every department or every employee of the town is taking. Our health inspector, health department director, I should say, was actually on vacation that week. So I was unaware of it, and the department head was unaware of it. So the health inspector and nurse went down to do the look-see, and my great frustration, aside from not knowing about it, was that the state law that governs camps is convoluted, it is archaic, it's oppressive, it's worse than the IRS code. I mean, I looked at it and my brain was boggled. And you look at the thing and you wonder how any camp operating in Massachusetts can actually comply with the state regulations. It's kind of ironic that we look to government when something happens, when there's a tragedy, we look to government for a reaction. You got to do something, and then the do-gooders on Beacon Hill come out with crazy legislation. A good example, just to throw this in, would be, when I was in office, someone drowned in a kayaking accident. So, we want a kayak safety
in a camp
bill.
Environment,
right? And they came out with just
regular.
So, Beacon Hill reacts and eventually passes a kayak safety bill. It has all these, it was originally proposed the most absurd legislation that I had seen while I was up there, and there's a lot of absurd legislation. And you put, I think as the bill was originally, and maybe even the way it was passed, anyone in a kayak right now at a given moment in Massachusetts is breaking the law. So it's a really tough thing to comply with, but on a number of fronts, The health inspector felt it was way out of compliance. They're in a high-risk category definition of activities there when you have kids out on boats. And they took action at the time that they felt was appropriate. It might have been a little heavy-handed, but nonetheless it happened. So after the fact, we looked at what our options were to try to help the club comply and not have the town liable for not enforcing state law. So we got everyone together the next day and were able to work something out. They changed some of the practices of how they operate so they don't hit the state definitions, and the program was reinstituted the next day. So it was a big cause celeb in the papers. I don't agree with the way the town handled it, but nonetheless, people felt they were doing their jobs, and you get kids involved, and I think they wanted to err on the side of caution and safety. Had something happened after receiving a complaint, and there was an accident, then there might be some liability on the town's part for not taking action. So it was a tough call. Bottom line is it's resolved. It's a great program, and we want to continue to work with them to see that the program's in place and let the kids, learn maritime skills and have fun.
In a weird way, it might be one of the better things that happens to the program, because I, for one, was not even familiar with the fact that we had a sailing program, and I'd love to get my kids involved. So I think this type of press hopefully will work in their favor at the end of the day. But as Mary referenced, so over 60 years, Mayor, down there, huh? What a great program, and it's run out of the Wessagusset Yacht Club, it sounds like. But is it a town program, or is it a Wessagusset program, or some sort of kind of hybrid?
It's basically Wessagusset, but there's some cooperation with the town, and they're using some town boats, evidently, and they're using a bunch of boats from the Weymouth Rec program.
Sounds like a great program. And,
Excuse me, Braintree Rec.
And we wish them all the best. Obviously, anything involving the kids in the water in the summer, we want to keep moving forward, I'm sure.
And I think there's a program, and it was done to try to meet some public benefit standards that DCR has with South Shore Yacht Club. I think they do some kind of sailing program over there, too.
Wow.
Just to throw that out. Or they used to. I hope it's still in place.
Well, listen, let's stay in North Weymouth, because the last couple of weeks there was some, I think, what we would regard as positive and encouraging news regarding...
A lot of North Weymouth questions.
Yeah, what's an important part of the town.
Actually,
it's their own nation, did you not refer to last
Actually,
week?
a lot of North Weymouth questions since we started the show. They're their own nation?
Yeah, they are a sovereign nation. And you need to run for re-election in a separate nation.
We got Brexit. We could have Nexit.
Well, let's talk about Spectre real quick, because obviously that's a hot button issue. Every time I go over the Ford Bridge, those people are very diligent with their protesting. I honk my horn and wave, and it's exciting. What's happening with Spectre? And it sounds like something positive is occurring relative to the town's position.
Well, we're still the underdogs, obviously, in this fight, and we still have to work within the reality of the federal process here. But we got a big boost from the state with Governor Baker stepping in and issuing the letter to me that he did on July 14th, where he has asked his agencies that have a role in this, and these agencies aren't going to be able to flat out stop the project, but the steps that he has taken are extremely strong, exceed what we could have even hoped for in our, I won't say wildest dreams, but in our hopes, in terms of how strong an action he would ask his agencies to take. The most significant is the air quality assessment, and we got the letter. I did pull this out, Jim, July 14th. His Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Public Health, he's asked them to jointly undertake a public health impact assessment, and that's probably the most significant of the three actions that he's asked his departments to take. I had 2 lengthy conversations with the governor in about a month and a half in the run-up to this. We had a very excellent conversation with his Secretary of Environmental Energy and Environmental Affairs, Matt Beaton. A number of follow-ups between their counsel and our town solicitor, Joe Callanan, subsequent to that. We were very enthused after talking to the Secretary. I think he's very sympathetic to Weymouth's situation. But even with those conversations, we were still pleasantly surprised with the letter. He's asked his Department of Public Safety to work with us in assessing any threat review from a public safety standpoint. And basically the third leg of that was Coastal Zone Management has a little bit of a role in this. And he's asked them to look at this from a climate resilience standpoint because of the location of the proposed compressor station site. So big boost. It's going to cause an additional delay. We've already, due to our efforts through our town solicitor and outside counsel, have already impacted the process and created some delays for Spectra Eversource and Algonquin. And I think this really got on the governor's radar screen with obviously the legal actions we've taken, the discussions I've had with him, the lobbying from our other elected officials, and certainly the citizens that have risen up and done a lot of different things, from Andrea Honore camping out in his office for 82 days or whatever it was.
Which recently ended, we understand?
Yeah, and the actions taken by the citizen groups that are out there that have created a lot of press coverage on this.
Do you think if it was Secretary Beaton's decision and his alone to make, do you think he would stop this thing in its tracks?
We've been doing this show now for about a year and a half. Sometimes you ask some very insightful questions. Occasionally you ask a very stupid question.
A lot of jib-jab in between.
You just asked the most poignant, insightful question you've asked in the history of the show.
Thank you very much.
And it's probably one that I should refrain from answering.
Okay.
And I think that the Secretary, because of the position he's in kind of adjudicating this, we actually don't think it's helpful for the governor or the Secretary to publicly prejudice the process in a sense, because it could actually backfire on us if we wind up in court, which we think we're going to ultimately, if this keeps going in the direction that we think FERC's trying to take it. But I'll just say that the Secretary has been extremely diligent in personally reviewing the situation. I think he had a better grasp on the situation than some of his own staff. Asked the right questions, and I'll just say that I believe he's very sympathetic.
Well, it's interesting, Mayor, as you were kind enough to lob some niceness towards me, I'm going to kick it back to you, because part of your platform when you were running was the connections you have up on the Hill. That was part of what made you unique as a candidate.
I wouldn't say that comes into play here with the Secretary.
Well, what about the access to the governor that's trickled down to the Secretary?
I think that, I probably, there could be some other people in office that I wouldn't have had the amount of minutes, direct, one-on-one with the governor on this issue. Some governors would get into the weeds on certain things. I remember having lengthy sit-down with Cellucci and local officials who we brought in to talk about Greenbush. I remember having discussions directly with Romney on the proposed LNG gas storage facility on Outer Brewster Island. There's different local issues, and governors will get immersed in them to varying degrees because they view it as a local issue. I mean, trying to talk to Cellucci on particulars about Greenbush was useless. He had no interest in understanding particulars. He had a stock answer, and he talked about, infrastructure for the 21st century, and he didn't care about, impacts to a particular town or not. Other governors got into great detail. Romney had a perception of being aloof. His detail of knowledge on a couple local issues like the LNG storage facility was mind-blowing. Wow. How deep and detailed he got. Greenbush was a decision made during the Romney administration. He knew every particular about that contract and the particulars on mitigation agreements, et cetera, et cetera. I would give him information, he would take it and read it on the ride home, and he'd come back to me the next day, and he could recite the thing top to bottom.
Wow, fantastic.
So, it's ironic because, Cellucci was a selectman. You'd think he'd have more interest in looking at the details.
Boots on the ground.
And Romney was a big-time businessman, but he took more effort in looking at the details. In this instance, I think Baker is probably not quite the level of detail as Romney, but certainly closer to that Romney example than the Salucci example.
Well, it seems like we have his attention that's on the matter, and it's exciting to hear and encouraging on some levels. As you said, it's a big fight.
I would say it has definitely improved our odds. I mean, our outside counsel and Solicitor Callanan, when we started this process, had us at like 95, underdog. We were 5% chance of defeating this. Through our court actions, we felt we got it up to like 10 to 15%. This improves that. I can't say to what degree, but it definitely helps big time.
Well, I know I speak for the scuttlebutt in the town and the jib jab when I say people are psyched. People are appreciative of the efforts, and we're putting up our dukes. Hey, more great news from the Hill came in the form, I guess maybe a different train, but the same track. Champagne corks were popping all over town about a week ago when we got the great news on the library.
We're moving outside of North Weymouth now.
Yeah, we now back to the general town. Yes,
clearly
we're
the
back
Spectra.
down the road.
I don't want to get any angry letters. The Spectra, obviously, that issue has geographic concerns that go beyond the borders of North Weymouth. Library was great news. Great work and by the way, we got this. We had a shorter window of time to get our application in, and it's detailed and it's voluminous than any other towns we were competing with. So our committee did a great job.
And competitive as hell, huh? I didn't realize there were so many contenders for the funding.
Yep, and we were one of the two big grants in this round. We were very blessed with a good committee, diverse, a lot of different knowledge. We had, for instance, I can't single everybody out, but we were lucky we had Dennis Corcoran, who's a Weymouth resident, who was a Hingham Library director, but lives in Weymouth.
Oh, boy.
And as Hingham director had been through this process, our
And Hingham did not pick up funding, correct?
Yeah, they've been... They're going back to the trough, if you will. And,
sure.
So we had an advantage over that. I knew we were in good stead to beat Hingham on this round. But great job by everybody on the committee, our library director, our facilities director, John McLeod, Rob McLean, our director. Everything went perfect on this. And, people, I'll address one part of this. People talk about the cost. Because when we got the news, people were questioning the cost, and it is an expensive project.
What is that number approximately?
Well, the problem is the grant process is driven by our population, and based on your population, you have to have certain features in the library that the state mandates in order to get the grant. So, you're going to hit a certain threshold, which is why this is a, what are we at, 25? I'm blanking out on the number now. But it's expensive. But we're in a position, the other question, we got how are we paying for this? Are we going to have to do a debt exclusion override? And as we, over the last year and a half, have prepared our capital budgets and handled our debt service and our bonding, we factored this in as anticipating we would get it, so that we weren't in a position where we got the grant and then couldn't figure out a way and had to go to the voters for a debt exclusion override. We're going to be able to fit this in our existing capital spending plan, so there'll be no need of seeking a debt exclusion override to make this work.
And this thing seems to be moving pretty fast, like you said. You've only been mayor for a year and a half. I know this was something you talked about from day one.
Yeah.
And when would arguably the construction begin?
I forget the timeline. Don't put me on the spot on that because I don't want to say.
But I mean, 6 months, a year, a couple years out. Is it?
We have to now hire an architect and get the plans going. So I forget what the timeline is.
So you'll be a year before you see those plans.
I think the completion, if all goes well, would be 2019, I think.
Okay.
If not later. And then the other point I want to make on the, there's another part of the financing. You lost my train of thought, but whatever. We'll get back to it.
Well, listen, the library is a vital part, again, as you look to kind of rebuild the community, which is our incredible town, and the library is a gathering place for so many of us. And we regard it as, anybody with kids obviously regards it as great news.
We've talked about it before, a lot going on in that neighborhood. I mean, obviously the landing was a focus of economic redevelopment efforts for a long time. 2008, the town did the zoning changes down there, and some of the private development adjacent to Weston Park that's happening is just going to be an incredible fit with the new library, and the upgrades to Weston Park, which is getting a lighted diamond field, new playground, et cetera.
That's all part and parcel of the library?
It should bring a lot of life to that neighborhood.
Well, and of course, what Atwater did with the Hunt School down there, that thing's a phenomenon unto itself, the old Hunt School, the South Shore Christian Academy. That thing is another big boon to that area as well. Well, listen, we want to remind everybody to keep the questions coming in to askmayorbob@gmail.com. We appreciate all those inquiries as we kind of went around the infield and spoke about 3 issues that are hot button and certainly positive developments for the town. So great stuff happening in our town, obviously. There's a question in here from Brian Carlick, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. I think you saw this earlier, Bob. There's actually a number of attachments to it.
My understanding on this one is that he had written to us, did not get a sufficient response in a manner that he felt was timely, so he has taken to the Ask the Mayor
Forum
vehicle here to get this question out there.
So,
And we don't censor questions.
so let me try to bring
I don't
you
think we've
fast
ever,
forward.
I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever not, unless someone got to it before me, because some of these I don't see, but I don't believe we've ever not read a question.
No, when they come in, we read them.
Even the ones critical of you.
Well, that's okay.
All right, so let's get to this one.
It's
This
show
is-
business. They don't call it show friends. It's show business.
I think my answer on this one, because again, I saw the original email, I think my answer on this one is going to be shorter than the actual question.
Well,
let me see. I'm dying to see you try to sort this out.
Okay, so first of all, Brian, we love you. We appreciate your inquiry. We're going to have to send you to spell check school because it says
No,
Mayor
no,
Headland.
come on.
and
Whoa,
Councilor Dempsey.
whoa. You are the citizen advocate. You are their voice. Now you're criticizing.
But I have to interpret the message if I can't read what's been said here. But let me try to paraphrase. 2 weeks ago today, I sent both of you an email. This is Headland and Councilor DeFazio. I sent both of you an email with a letter attached asking for something or someone to please address the truck traffic on Church Street, given the no trucks restriction. I didn't realize we had no trucks restriction on Church Street. I have not heard any response from the mayor, the mayor's office, or my district councilor. Is there someone else I need to get in contact with regarding my concerns?
Yes, the citizen advocate on Ask the Mayor.
I've spoken with the Weymouth Traffic Division, the Fall River Bridge General Contractor, and nothing is apparently being done to enforce the no trucks restriction on Church Street. Councilor DeFazio, you live right around the corner from me, and you have made no effort to contact me. I've attached the letter again for you to read. Sincerely, Brian Carlick on 58 Church Street. Now, Church Street, just to be clear, is the annex kind of to coming up Commercial Street, the one that cuts through to the Heights, right?
Where the new sign is that you haven't seen.
Yeah, okay, where the new sign is. Okay, beautiful. All right.
That you haven't seen.
That I haven't seen yet. I'm looking forward to that. So, no trucks on that road. So, what are they supposed to go up Commercial Street and?
I'm going to give you the short answer.
Go ahead. Thank
so
you.
this is
It's
part
shorter
of the,
than this
this
small
is part
novel
of the
that's here.
well, why don't you get to the second page?
Oh, okay. Upon request. Let's see what it says. I've attached the letter again. Well, I don't know if we have time. We've only got 5 minutes left, I think, on this show. But listen, I appreciate anybody who's putting in the passion and commitment to deliver his message here. So, yes, this is very involved. And why don't you, like you said, why don't you give us the cliff notes on this? So what the hell, why aren't we enforcing this no truck
take this
restriction?
with you, study it, and be prepared for the next show to make sure that we have covered the answer.
It's like
Tom,
Romney.
it is lengthy, and this is part of the angst of obviously, traffic in general, and then the impacts from the Fall River Bridge construction, which this is a route, an alternative route for people to get around the lane drop. So I don't have all the details, but the short answer is that we have put Mr. Carlick, the letter writer, in direct communication as of today with our traffic engineer, Owen McDonald. So they are discussing this direct one-on-one, and I will be following up with Owen after their conversation to make sure Mr. Carlick's concerns, which are lengthy in here, he's obviously done he's taken pictures, he's done a lot of legwork on this, and we want to make sure that his concerns are addressed. Obviously, things we can do, things we can't do, that we're governed by the state on restricting traffic, as you know, from talking about
Past
the Route 18
conversations,
issue
yes, sure.
with the Volkswagen hauler, et cetera. So we're on it.
My question, very quickly, is when there's a sign that says no trucks, how is that truck defined? What is that? Is that 18-wheelers? Is that?
My understanding is we cannot just go out and ban trucks on a road.
What's a truck?
If we feel like it, even if it's our road, we have to go through a process and have state sign-off. I do not know the entire history of the truck ban on Church Street, whether that was part of this mitigation or if it was an existing ban.
It's interesting. Again, the definition of a truck seems to be about a mile wide. I wonder if it means, a guy driving a pickup truck, or, it has to be a commercial vehicle.
You can base the limitations on the tonnage, which you often see on bridges, for instance. It might be structurally deficient where they have a ban on trucks over a certain weight.
So I'm in trouble, is
So
what you're
generally,
saying.
a 10,000 pound truck would be what you see, like a small dump truck, 6 wheels.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Interesting. Well, listen, once again, we encourage everybody to keep the questions coming in at AskMayorBob@gmail.com. We're about to wrap up another fantastic episode of our program, but before we go, Bob, there's a number of issues that we've touched
we can
upon.
do some of these
like
rapid
the
fire.
lightning round, if you don't mind. Are you ready for this? Yes. All right, some of these go back to January. Bob, did a user guide ever get published for the town park? Some people were wondering
It's not
about that.
done. We actually, this is definitely on my radar. Something I want to do. I want to copy Hingham, what they do. A nice little guide for you to know where all your open space and trails are in Weymouth. There's a couple of pieces of open space the town acquired as far back as 10 years ago, which they've never put on the rolls, which is all overgrown. You guys paid for it, and we want to open it up to you, so we're trying to get a couple of those online, and we're going to publish the pamphlet.
Was a skateboard, another big hot button issue in town, was a skateboard park ever cited?
It has, we have not identified a
on that?
location. Steve Riley is spearheading that, a Recreation Department Director. I know he's conducted a couple of meetings. Some locations were floated in those meetings, which make absolutely no sense. I don't think they would be attractive to users and not attractive from a town standpoint. That is an ongoing process of which we do not have resolution yet.
Bob, you told us on the St. Patrick's Day episode that, when we filmed our episode around the time, that your birthday was on July 12th. Happy belated birthday. Did you do anything special on your birthday that people want to know?
No.
What are the summer plans for the mayor?
I have a staffer here that treats birthdays like the biggest thing on earth. And if you don't go to his
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Ted.
He invites you to his birthday and you don't go, he tries to fire you.
Oh, hey now!
I'm the opposite with birthdays. I think they're stupid, and I told staff, anybody wishes me happy birthday, they're going to be fired.
Hey now, would you care to reveal your age, or do we have to cut you off and count the rings? All right. Wait a minute, how about vacation plans? What are you doing this summer?
Nothing.
Okay, there you go. North Weymouth.
I'm getting a couple softball games in, and I'm taking my kid to the beach. And actually, no, I am taking my kid to Storyland for 3 days.
Have you been? Big winner.
I've been there once. He didn't like it. I'm giving him another try.
Hey, somebody asked from an episode that we occurred back in February, where did the new beach get its name? I presume the George Lane Beach they're referring to, no?
Well, it was named for a former state representative. No.
The new beach?
No. What am I saying?
A town councilor for many moons.
Yes.
Is that George Lane? Is that the beach that we're talking about?
There's two George Lanes.
Are there 2 George Lanes?
Yeah.
You mean junior and senior?
Yeah, it wasn't named for Junior, right?
Yeah.
Who recently passed, who was our longtime town solicitor.
Oh, his dad actually was?
Yes.
Oh,
I believe it's named for his dad, but I forget what his. Help me here next show.
All right, listen, final summer question as we conclude the lightning round. Again, close to the jib jab category, your Red Sox prediction was that they would win the division and that the Phillies would be the sleeper team. How's that going so far?
I'm batting 500.
Phillies.
No, I'm actually batting 1,000. The Red Sox are leading the division, and the Phillies are asleep.
Well, listen, we want to remind
One more.
Okay, please keep the questions coming into AskMayorBob@gmail.com. Bob, the question would be, somebody asked about the car count in Columbian Square. Could you speak to that?
We have time for that one? The car count?
I've lost the context. I don't understand.
I don't know the context either, but the project is moving forward. We have our steering committee met this week. We have a meeting this Thursday with the merchants.
To do what?
We're going to have the preferred alternative put forward to the citizens of the town for the redesign of the traffic issue in Columbian Square.
Perhaps a rotary?
So I know that WETC will be covering that meeting as they've covered in the past.
I'll be protesting out front. Bicycle.
That sounds like the town. We're going to protest before we know what the design is.
Hey, once again, have a great summer, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I know I speak for Mayor Bob Hedlund when we say we appreciate the letters. AskMayorBob@gmail.com. Stay tuned for Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, that's Pete. Three Stooges.
Hey! Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.